Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to 2021. What now? Of course, it would be great if I had the answer to everyone's problems, right? And you said, hey, 2021, I'm dealing with this. What now? What to do next? What to do next, right? I've perhaps found myself in the same boat where I would go to mentors or people I look up to and I would say, hey, man, what are we dealing with here? Let's talk about what's next. Where's this all going, right? And I'm usually met with a lot of uncertainty. And I've talked about this before in one of my previous videos about certainty, is that no one knows exactly where we're going except for the people who have a plan where they are going, right? And this includes all of us. Like, if someone says, where's this all going? You can bust out your little plan and say, well, I'm going to take my family to here. We're going to move. I'm going to start a new business. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go, it is whatever we say it is. And the certainty will be created by that plan. And I'm going through that with my family. I'm restructuring. I used to do a lot of commercial production, and I've since grown out of that. And I'm working on a documentary film, but I'm also doing commercial real estate investment. I'm setting my family up for an amount of certainty that's needed so that my wife can relax into her role as the mother, as the wife, as the creative that she is. I can step up into my role, which is the masculine, the provider, the certainty provider. And I don't mean just money, but yes, money as well. It's really important to know that providing for a family really comes from a place of certainty, even if there's no money. Money will follow, right? So that's kind of, when I say 2021, what's next, right? So today I wanted to talk about culture. One of my mentors, Brett Jones, always says, and he's probably not the first to coin it, but I just love when he says it in his Australian accent, and I can't do the accent here. It'll be held against me. But he always says, culture is a cult. Hence, it's called culture, right? So if we look at our current culture, and it depends where you're from, right? If you're tuning in here from another continent or another, what I call economy or country, right? Culture is going to look different to you than it does to me. But today I'm not here to talk about our specific culture of being American, although I may make references to the American culture because that's where I'm currently residing in the United States of America. I was born in Switzerland, so that was my culture until I was 20. And then I moved over here. So let's talk about culture. What is culture? Well, if it's truly a cult, like so many people have said before, that's why it's called a culture. It's because there's a certain philosophy or truth or perhaps a way of living that when you're born into a culture, right? You and I are born into a culture. Our souls, if you want to go with me on this slightly spiritual lift up here, our souls choose to be born. And if you believe in this or not, then we can just leave it away for the simplicity's sake, right? So let's just say you're born in Los Angeles, California. That's where I was residing for a while, 20 years. Let's say you're born in LA, like my sons were, both of them. Born in Los Angeles, you're born into a culture. The culture consists of many things, such as language, religious affiliations, right? Such as the environment. Are you born into a culture that has a lot of, cities and metropolitan cities, or are you just in a culture that's very rural, right? And don't get me wrong, the cultures can be similar, right? You can be in another country, in Australia, and it feels like you're in the US because it has metropolitan cities and skyscrapers, but then it has the beaches and it has mountains and desert, and it just depends. The point is you're born into an environment, and that environment consists of many truths, and a culture is made up of those truths. And if you're born in Iraq versus born in Los Angeles, you're going to be fed from your parents or the people that raise you. You're going to be fed or given different truths. And we don't need to go into detail right now, but I hope you all get that concept, right? It's different truths, different languages, different customs, different dances, different foods, different ways to dress, different ages when one gets married. All these customs are part of the culture. And one of my other mentors says frequently that before we can change this culture, before we can start a new culture, we have to first drive the old one into a tree. And at first it seemed a little violent when I heard it. I was like, okay, what is he talking about? But what he's referring to is that this culture, this truth, this sort of ball of truths that we've been fed or given, those of us who were born into a culture here, you're born into a culture where you're at, right? Those truths have to first disappear or be broken down before new truths can be put in place. Now, you may ask yourself, why do we need a new culture? Well, the simplest answer that I have for that is, if our current culture, and I speak for myself right now for the US culture, and you can fill in your culture in the blank if you agree with this statement, but if our current culture is not fulfilling, is not one to be proud of, is one that's disordered, is one that's confused, is one that is hurting with unemployment, suicide, homicide, drug use, and so forth. If that's what's the case, and I'm using the United States in this example, as the example, if that's the case, why would we not want to change our culture? Like, seriously, what could be so much more or that much more important to us in this culture, in a dysfunctional culture? And I'm going to just say this is a dysfunctional culture in the United States. Scientifically or medically proven, you can look this up, about 70% of Americans are on a prescription drug for a disorder. So you could say scientifically and medically, it is now proven, it is a fact based on studies, scientific studies, backed up fact that we live in a disordered culture. Because if you don't call a 70% population on prescription drugs disordered, then I don't know what is. Then I don't know how we want to measure a disordered culture. So hopefully you can go along with me on this example. We're living in a disordered culture. And why would we not want to change a disordered culture into a happier, more fulfilled, more grounded, more certain, more loving, more caring, more all-inclusive, more united culture, right? Hence, United States of America. Well, I'm just going to go with it and say, I do feel that we can and should create a new culture, because the old one that served us until now really isn't serving us anymore. Hence, my mentor saying, I think we should drive this one into a tree and start a new one. Now, when he says drive this one into a tree, I have to say that the reason why he says drive it into a tree, not just throw it out the window, not just, turn a page, not just leave it behind, but driving it into a tree is a violent gesture. And one of the reasons I think that is part of the metaphor that he's using is because we aren't going to want to change this behavior or this culture unless there's a strong impact, unless there's a wake-up call, unless that car, that cultural car hits that tree, the tree of this ain't no longer working, that kind of tree. Unless that happens, unless there's a wake-up call, like a rattle of like, holy shit, we got to change it, nothing will change. Hence, there's that violent part of the metaphor. So now what's the problem? Why haven't we changed our culture? Why haven't we said, you know what, this is kind of not working, guys? I mean, look at all the unemployment, look at all the drug use, look at all the suicide, homicide, anything with a side at the end. Let's maybe change it. This doesn't work. There's war, there's poverty, there's homelessness, there's all this stuff on our watch. Well, the reason why it hasn't been changed is because there's a level, a top-down percentage of people who are profiting or benefiting from our culture being disordered. Now, I know that this is where some of you may say, oh, this is another one of those conspiracy theory videos. Oh, this is another one of those elite global reset, da 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 da. Well, it's all part of it. It's not a conspiracy. You can look this up. This is no longer a conspiracy theory. What I'm talking about here should be no threat to anyone, because all of this information can be looked up and verified on what I call the first sources, right? You can go to the World Economic Forum, look at the Great Reset. You can look at the profits that pharma has and who the stockholders are, and you know, it's right there. There is a sort of a top percentage, the elite, call it the 1%, if you will, that actually benefit from a disordered culture. And I don't mean benefit as it's not like a master plan to disorder our culture. But it's kind of like one of these like, hey, well, I mean, if people killing themselves and if people are on pain medications and people have disorders, I mean, hey, it's cool. We'll make medications for them. All good. We'll give them weapons to go to war. All good. You know, it's that kind of like looking the other way, almost like, you know, I mean, hey, people are always going to be stupid, right? The masses will always be stupid. Now, when I say stupid, I don't mean that as in like not educated, but perhaps comfortable, in the comfort zone, right? If you get to buy your car and go on your vacation and do Christmas shopping and have your fancy dinners and you know, have a decent job, like, you're fine. At the end of the day, you want to go home, you want to watch Netflix, you want to check out, have a beer, you know, go to bed and do it again, because that's your system, that's your life. So when you have a mass populace that is comfortable or in a comfort zone, then there is no intention, no need, perhaps no motivation to change the culture, right? To get this culture to be a better one for everyone involved. There's no need, because we're comfortable, it's fine, we don't want to rock the boat, we don't want to be the odd one out, we don't want to cause trouble, we want to survive and pay our bills. That's why the top can profit from all of us, because we're just not inspired enough to change the culture. It just hasn't really hit home yet. Why would I need to change? Why would I need to change my way, my job, what I eat, what I tell my kids? Why do I need to change it? It's all fine. It's okay. Let me just make it to retirement and then hopefully die a painless death, right? Well, people like that are never going to stand up and revolt against the current stronghold, the stronghold of this current culture that's really no longer working for us. So I'm inviting you, if you've listened to this video this far, thank you for your attention. Please like and subscribe if you like it and you want to subscribe. If not, then don't. But if you've come this far, I invite you to see where in your life have you perhaps been comfortable in the comfort zone, not wanting to change because you don't want to rock the boat, you don't want to work harder, you don't need change because it hasn't really affected you personally, so you're just fine with everything. You're just like, just whatever, just give me the new president who will promise us that everything will be fine and there'll be equality and there'll be no more racism and the budget will go down and COVID will disappear, and you just put that into place. Let me go to my job. Let me go to my fancy vacations and my fancy dinners and drive my fancy car, and I'm fine, right? If you find yourself there, I'm just asking you, I'm urging you to look one more time and to see what kind of world are we leaving behind for our children? What kind of world are we actually allowing the 1% to create? You know, are we all going to be sucking on the titty of the 1%, giving them that sort of obedience and that feeding, you know? Is that all we want? Is that it? Or do we want more? So I'm inviting you to ask that question. Next time you talk about your culture, your customs, ask yourself, are these customs actually benefiting society? Am I actually fulfilled following these customs? Is my culture a positive one? Is it aware? Is it conscious? Does it really want to involve or include everyone? Is my culture serving me and us, my neighborhood, my family, my communities, my country, right? Is it serving or is it taking? And when it's not serving, I guarantee you that we would all be better off. with a new type of culture. It's always going to be a culture, right? Somewhere, someone, somehow has to dictate a set of rules. And so it will be us following that person or that entity or that company or that group of people, the cult, right? It's part of it. So please give it a thought, give it a like, give it a subscribe, give it a something. Have a good weekend. Thanks for watching, listening. Remember, your time and your attention is very precious. And if you've watched this far, thank you for giving it to me for this video. I appreciate you. I don't take this lightly. And I hope to see you back again soon. 2021. What now?